Well, we might be in.
Well,
Low levels of aluminum found.
nope.
High levels of
Are you
water
in?
found.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, good.
Medium levels of
Whoa!
aluminum found.
Whoa, we found some iron aluminum. Interestingly enough, PB totally ignoring it when it comes to something like a robotic play.
Maybe he heard
Medium
me.
levels of carbon
Poke him a little bit.
That will be
Maybe he did. He's just gonna drop scientific, actually take 2 steel mills in a nice little iron triangle, and then take up the 1 iron aluminum tile for his initial metal mine. Very interesting play, not really using the iron aluminum in the expected fashion, but getting the tile nonetheless for his aluminum production.
Well, Thorn predicted a couple of moves there, but not aluminum. He thought he's gonna go for the iron.
Well, there's some interesting tiles there. That aluminum silicon,
Yeah.
very tasty tile.
Exactly, and I think that with this aluminum silicon, that might have been what pushed PB to throw down scientific, as well as just this nice big patch of silicon. Definitely some interesting things you can do with that. I have a bit of a concern when it comes to water. There is not a lot of it on this map. We've got just a couple low waters up kind of in the northern edge. We've got a medium water and some lows over to the west.
For scientific, I must say that PB is definitely preparing himself for a little bit of pirates there by not permitting any kind of shipping yet.
Yeah. No
Well,
pirate problems for PB anytime soon. But the first auction is going to be a geotherm.
Boy, those water aluminum tiles are going to be hugely important.
Yeah,
They're
indecision
so
finding
flexible.
those.
Yep.
And definitely might be able to make good use of
room
them.
for scavenger on this map. I mean, I saw a little bit of carbon, but nothing but that one spot. There's something else?
We did have a high carbon next to a low carbon, which can be enough for a scavenger player, and then another high carbon. So I guess it was an option, but not a real obvious one this game. Both players instead throwing down for the bit more obvious scientific plays. Also, indecision, potentially not wanting to push too hard on this geotherm, just bid it up enough that PB has to pay a significant amount for it, but he has a geotherm actually next to his base. So
Sure.
once again, superconductor definitely going to be a possibility if he chooses to claim that tile.
Apparently it's going for PB, 20,000.
Yep.
That's a lot of
Wow,
money right off.
okay.
Yeah, right
That's a
off the
hefty
bat.
bid.
But
Yeah,
we're
that's
talking
a lot of
PB,
money.
and if there
Not
is a
afraid of
potential weakness for PB, it is his debt.
Yep.
And I would love to see more players try and exploit that against him. He loves debt. He absolutely loves using it.
Yep.
Not
And
afraid of it
forgot-
at all, and it can cause him
Forgot to
problems.
mention that is the other thing we see every game from PB.
As well. He
Scientific
doesn't want to give it to the other player because their geotherm is right there.
Yeah. Well, for the very first auction, I can see going into a ton of debt because that's the one that's going to pay off the most long term for the game.
Plus,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's very ready to kind of buy you out the level 1 and 2 yet.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
exactly. Now, there is a big risk on going huge for that first auction in that all of that debt will be getting interest every single day, and that can be a bit of a problem. I mean, yeah, it was a 20,000 auction, but it's really costing you 22,000 plus once you start adding on that 10% interest. That's coming just a few hours later in game.
Interestingly, both decided to go scientific.
Yeah. Indecision actually going to be getting to these low water tiles in addition to his medium water tiles, which is kind of interesting. I don't know exactly why he would choose to split up his resources in that fashion, rather than just securing all the water tiles he had better access to for more adjacency bonuses.
Yeah,
He's only
he could
against
appear-
another scientific player. He is scientific. Black market really shouldn't be that much of a concern for him.
The other weird thing about doing that is that takes away his ability to power surge EMP Pbhead's buildings.
Exactly.
Because they're going to be right next to him.
Yeah.
What are your predictions, you guys? If you have to predict right off the bat from the map placement, what do you think is going to happen? And who's going to win?
Well, this game, my prediction was PB is going on through. I think PB has a bit better grasp of 1v1. He does more consistent play, seems to know exactly what he's doing, and he makes it work almost every single game, and I haven't seen any reason that that wouldn't happen here.
Well, Pbhead has the steel triangle. Indecision does not. Pbhead has a great set of mines if he needs to use them, or he could transition them to something else. I mean, just right now he has better tiles. Although Indecision does have those really interesting aluminum water tiles. But the question is basically like, if the Indecision has what he wants, if Pbhead has what he wants, he's tough to beat.
Yeah, for sure. It is interesting seeing him play Scientific. That it seems to be the colony type that I see Pbhead actually play the least. So I don't know if he's going to be as prepared for this as if he were a different race.
Play in the black market. We saw the claims got, people got the claims. They got the goon squad. Nobody pushes mutiny, dynamite. No aggressive play.
Well, they're both scientific, so the black market stuff is half as effective against both.
Yeah, but a power surge right now early on the game could have been effective.
Well, I definitely could see that for the steel triangle for sure that Pbhead has.
This is really interesting to me. Indecision choosing to build some solar panels next to his base and choosing that for his power production right now.
Whose dry ice condensers were those?
Those are Indecisions.
That's also kind of strange.
Something that I've actually seen out of him quite a bit is these dry ice condensers. Another building that I'm not 100% sure on. It doesn't work during the night, and then during the day, I believe it costs 0.4 power.
Yeah, they use a lot of power.
So much power.
Presumably why he has the solar panels out right now. I mean, right now it looks okay in the sense that carbon's worth quite a bit.
Pbhead has about 34,000 deaths.
Yep.
It's not yet crazy, but it's...
well, Indecisions is worse. They've gone even on auctions, 20,000 apiece, and Pbhead definitely got power online first, so his debt's looking a bit healthier.
Yeah, I think this game for Pbhead is a little bit different because generally he gets in so much more debt.
Yeah. My big concern about these solar panels, by the way, isn't necessarily the fact that he put down solar panels, but where he put them down, on top of these low iron tiles. I have to wonder if there was something more valuable for him to take. We've got like a high silicon and a medium silicon next to Pbhead's base. Very difficult to take down. We've got more water, more silicon, just in various places around this map. And I have to wonder if these two low iron tiles are really what he should have done as a scientific player.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's really my big concern I was pointing out with the solar panels. I mean, it seems a bit awkward to me.
I would have loved to see him grab those silicons next to Pbhead because, again, then they'd be very, very hard to EMP or power surge.
PB won't let it. I feel like PB is waiting for him to start going and claiming something just so he could spike him and claim it instead.
Yeah, Indecision definitely taking them now.
And there goes the geotherm.
Yep, that PB is going to grab up.
Right now.
PB really liking those geotherms, more than most players do, it seems. Man, now we are seeing some actual black market action. An EMP from Indecision onto Pbhead's glass production, whereas Pbhead just going to power surge out these steel mills. And Thinking Machines comes up. Wow. What an interesting little auction. I don't know how I would value this in the scientific versus scientific matchup.
It's tough because you don't generally have a lot of buildings around your headquarters where you're scientific. So, in fact, they each have buildings of each other players around their headquarters.
Yeah, it's just so odd. 14,000 for Pbhead. That is, I mean, an interesting thing to consider is that right now that only provides protection for 2 of his tiles. So he's paying like 7,000 per tile to have black market effects, which aren't going to be very frequent and aren't going to be very effective in the first place. So he'll definitely be looking to make more use of that later.
The question is, will this game go to an off-world? Because if it does, Thinking Machines is huge for a scientific player. They barely even need to goon squad their building at that point.
Absolutely, and something to definitely consider is that I believe we have a price of 604 off-world for fuel again. Wow. Fuel proving to be kind of a consistent, very helpful resource in these more recent games. And so if the game does go that long, then Thinking Machines will almost certainly pay off, but it's so rare that we see off-worlds become necessary in a 1v1. I think we've only seen it successfully done once in this entire tournament.
Why Indecision's stock price went up? I mean, I know he bought some of his shares, but kind of significantly went up. Oh, it's going back down again.
Well, he bought his shares. This one could go wild, though. Neither player is put themselves into a terrible hole, and they're both played okay. Pbhead has the lead, but it's not enough. I think they're just going to be able to just buy up Indecision.
Yeah. Pbhead with a definite lead, but not a huge lead. It's not a runaway victory by any means. I do love this move by Pbhead to freeze out Indecision's power. He's got 3 solar panels right next to each other. Power's extremely expensive. And Pbhead had a goon squad established on his geotherm, so he actually procs the defended on the geotherm. That tile can't be targeted for a whole minute at that point.
Yep.
And knocks out Indecision's power during the day all at the same time. Probably a fantastic move that'll help keep Indecision's debt stacking up, and that could cause him some serious problems. Oh, wow. Another huge thing to note. Pbhead, there's a chemical short going on. Pbhead grabs up 300 chemicals as opposed to Indecision's about 100. So just sheer floating cash. Pbhead far ahead in that regard this game. He's going to use that to pop himself up to level 5, and he has 5 claims now that he can spend on pretty much whatever he wants, because there are definitely some good sources of money this game. Maybe a little more food, maybe some chems of his own. Maybe just even some steel wouldn't be too bad. But of course, we're going to see the classic Pbhead hacker array come down.
Your stock is being bought.
Ooh, Indecision. That is a bold move. Indecision starting to buy up Pbhead's stock. Pbhead's just going to respond by buying up half of it. Saying, nope, no way you're going to sneak one in against me like that.
Yeah, well, takes his money off the table.
Yeah. Probably not a bad play by Indecision, because it did force that reaction from Pbhead.
I mean, you know you're going to have to buy your opponent's stock to win the game, so if you have an opportunity, you might as well go for it.
Yeah. Alright, plot auction is for the iron silicon tile right next to PB's base. That's actually probably not too bad for PB, really. I mean, Indecision's not going to want to give this to him, but he also can't make good use of it.
Yep. It puts PB in a great spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more debt for Indecision. He's approaching 100,000, easily going to hit that with the interest rate occurring, maybe even before. I mean, we're talking about 400 debt a second stacking up for Indecision right now at night. And PB can just keep knocking this power offline, especially if he chooses to store up black market actions during the night. It's a very scary place for Indecision right now, I think.
Yeah. Hitting that power over and over again has turned out to be a very, very good move for Pbhead.
Yeah, and Indecision, my big concern is he's still on HQ level 3.
Yep.
He hasn't managed to get to 4 yet, and that's really restricting his options. If he were level 4 or level 5, the way Pbhead is, he can commit far more tiles to power far more easily. They can't all be knocked out quickly, and it creates a much more stable situation for Indecision. But as of right now, he is $125,000 in debt, and I think that, more than anything else, is what's going to easily lose him this game at this rate.
Indecision is producing 1.5 steel per second. That's just not enough.
It is.
If I was
just
in that
not
position,
enough.
it doesn't matter that there's not an iron tile there. Build that 3rd steel mill. Get a triangle. You can buy some from the market. Just the presence of that 3rd steel mill improves the other 2 steel mills both by 50%. So it's even without needing the iron, it already boosts you up to +2 steel.
Your stock is
And then obviously, you know, once you have a triangle, you also have a steel mill that can convert iron to steel at a 1-to-1 ratio, which is easily worth it right now, where you see iron sitting at $20.
Yeah, and before, back when Indecision could have made this decision at the beginning of the game, PB had actually brought that iron price way down because of his iron aluminum tile. Indecision could have made use of that and didn't. So that was definitely an option available to him, and I think he missed out on it.
We are seeing the beginning of the end. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Well, a simple food hack is going to be going down. PB possibly going to buy into this ahead of time. He can just kind of coast to victory, and you can feel it. Still 2 claims unused. Indecision, it's going to take PB a good 130,000 to buy him out, right? Indecision has a lot of stock. It's really helping keep his stock price high. And on top of that, he has been paying off his debt, making this just bit by bit more difficult for PB. But seriously, he's still staying on HQ level 3. I don't know if there's any way to pull it back against someone HQ level 5 with the hacker array already fully functional. Level 4 for Indecision. Let's see if he can actually use these 4 new claims before PB can get these hacks rolling in enough to finish out the game. Nighttime, though. This is when it gets scary. This is when the debt comes back. Easily 400 to 500 debt per second right now for Indecision. It's just, I feel like it's going to be too much. Massive buy into the hack for PB. He's sitting on about 400 food at a value of 280 apiece.
Wow. Indecision has none.
Yeah. No food production whatsoever. And on top of that, this just adds to Indecision's debt accumulation per second because he is having to consume food. Pbhead at 96%. There's the 100. He hasn't yet hit it, but it shouldn't take too much longer. The red button appeared. Come on,
Our
PB.
hackers have compromised the trading
He actually did the control shift
Price
down as I think
manipulation
Indecision
is
paid off some of his own
cheap.
debt. But this is just delaying the inevitable by a few more seconds, and the game should end momentarily. Even with an electronics surplus being forced out by PB to actually wrap up the game, Indecision now has almost no income and really no way to come back, I think. Oh, man. Well, 96, 97, 99. I mean, it's just... We're just waiting, and everything else seems to be a bit of a formality at the moment.
Yeah.
The red
So
button came up, and PB just missed it in that moment. So now he's just
Yeah.
waiting and control shift downing until the game actually ends.
So do you think Indecision could have saved himself if he had Goon Squad as one of his solars?
I think it would have helped. There's no question about that. Goon Squad
Got
on the
the-
solars would have helped. Just getting to the upgrades faster would have helped. Throwing down a third steel mill, probably the single biggest thing Indecision could have
Yeah.
done.
I think that's the biggest mistake. I'm just trying to think through the energy issue.
Red button came back, and that's going to finally be the game.
Good game. Yep.
Well played by PB. Definitely Indecision, I think. Maybe a little bit too much time playing Scientific, not wanting to throw down those production buildings off of those resources. Something you have to be willing to do occasionally.
Yep.
And it definitely hurt him this game.
Two-player game, you're racing through the upgrades. You gotta get a steel triangle. Period. There's no way around it.
I think that's true, especially because it's committing one more tile to double the amount of steel, right, that you're bringing in. It's just, it only makes sense. Well, we can go ahead and take a quick glance at resources that game. Indecision, definitely only selling about 8,000 in steel. I want to compare that to PB, who sold in total more like 50,000 in steel. So I think if we want to look at the biggest difference between these two players, that is the one to point out. Aluminum being able to be sold by Indecision, oxygen, fuel. We saw he had those reactors up. That was all fine. Did some nice work with carbon, did some nice work with the chemical shorts. Buying up some silicon, likely to get down those solar panels a bit later than he would have hoped. Buying up glass, selling glass, but nowhere was he making a huge amount of money. And if we compare that to PB, who just made ridiculous amounts off his fuel short, a lot off steel, a lot off carbon, a lot off chemicals, getting to use all of those shorts much, much better, and just kind of riding through the game on that.
Yeah, and big accomplishment by PB proving he can win with Scientific.
Well, yep, definitely. Not that I'd have bet against him, even knowing that, but it was worth pointing out that is one of his least experienced colonies that at least I've been exposed to so far. Well, quick glance at the black market. We do see a couple power surges and EMP for Pbhead, one new claim, one mutiny, and 3 goon squads, definitely knowing he was in a position of power and playing a bit more defensively. On the other hand, Indecision, 2 new claims, 2 EMPs, and 1 dynamite, all he could afford. And, well, didn't get enough done with them.